Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
What you need to know about the start of fall. Summer makes it come back right away in the next couple of days. And then finally, we could get some much needed rain.
Driver charged. Police say the person responsible for a deadly crash this morning did not have a driver's license. What we know about the condition of the two people who survived.
An answer to autism. President Trump says he thinks his administration has found a link, a preview of today's highly anticipated announcement.
And it's the first day of fall as we have a comfortable afternoon in our forecast. It won't last long, though, as summer makes a comeback by midweek. You can see there the Carolina blue skies hanging over our tower cam looking at West Raleigh this morning. So great to have you with us this noon hour. I'm Ken Smith.
And I'm Laura Levine. We know Renee and Chris have the afternoon off. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner is in the WRAL Severe Weather Center with a look at why we will see a big change in the pattern, Elizabeth.
This high pressure system is going to help to bring us more warmth into the area. Right now, that high is sitting in this direction. It's been bringing in some northeasterly flow, which has kept things nice and cool. But as it slides eastward, high pressure systems rotate clockwise. So that high will start to pull in some moisture and some heat from down south. So it gets stickier, it gets hotter. It's going to feel very much like summer for us by Wednesday and Thursday. But not so bad today. 83 in Sanford, 81 Rocky Mount, 80 in South Hill. These are the highs that we'll see this afternoon, which are not too far from normal. Summer will reclaim its time as we get through the next couple of days. So 81's our normal high. So today, 83, and then 91 for Wednesday, 90 on Thursday. That's ahead of a front that comes through on Friday. And that front on Friday could help to bring us a good soaking rain. As a matter of fact, we've got a low end chance of flooding. We're going to go over all of that coming up in just a little while. But it's definitely a beautiful afternoon. We take a look from our Jimmy V camera down Fayetteville Street, 76 degrees, and the dew point's 56, so it feels wonderful. Great afternoon to get outside. 78 Fayetteville right now, 77 in Rocky Mount. So this is going to be a perfect day to get out and exercise. Of course, it may not be as comfortable by Wednesday and Thursday, but taking a sneak peek at the weekend, it doesn't look too bad. I'll show you how it looks behind the front. Let's take a quick look at the tropics. We have Hurricane Gabrielle, which has strengthened very, very quickly. Could be a Category 4 storm later on this afternoon, but it's moving away from Bermuda. I'll show you what they could see. And of course, we're not looking at any impacts.
Elizabeth, thank you. A 16-year-old is dead. 2 other teens are hurt after a late-night crash. This happened on US 64 near Millwood Drive in Apex. Police say the 17-year-old driver did not have a valid driver's license. WRAL's Monica. The White House says a deal that gives the U.S. control of TikTok's algorithm could be signed in the coming days. Americans will hold 6 of 7 board seats, and the family behind Fox could be part of the group of investors involved in this purchase. Here's NBC's Maya England.
TikTok users bracing for what's next.
I think my biggest fear is just, okay, we all have to migrate to a new app.
As the White House outlines what a new U.S.-controlled app could look like and who could be involved. President Trump suggesting the Murdochs will have a role.
Really great people, very prominent people, and they're also American patriots.
A source familiar tells NBC News that Lachlan Murdoch would not be involved in the TikTok deal individually, but that Fox Corp would serve a role. Murdoch officially took over Fox Corp and News Corp earlier this month. The deal would spin off the popular social media app from Chinese ownership. A U.S. version would be majority owned and controlled by Americans. And Americans would hold 6 of the 7 board positions. The U.S. would also control the app's algorithm, curating what content shows up on the feeds of over 170 million users in this country.
It is by far the most valuable piece of TikTok. If you've ever been on TikTok, you see how you can shape it, how it can shape you.
How do you think the user experience is going to change if this deal does go through?
Well, they keep talking about a new app. A new app could be a little bit of a frustration for some people.
TikTok briefly shut down in the U.S. in January over a bipartisan law passed last year by then President Biden, banning the app unless it was sold to an American company. The White House says this deal is expected to be signed with China in the coming days, with the clock ticking to finalize it before a mid-December deadline. Maya Eaglin, NBC News.
Luis Fernandez back in the WRAL Live Center. Earlier this morning, there was an earthquake in the larger San Francisco area, a 4.3 magnitude earthquake. This happened kind of southeast Berkeley, as you can see here where the believed epicenter is on the map here. Folks felt this as far south as Salinas, which is about 100 miles south of that San Francisco area. Fortunately, only minor damage has been reported. There were some train delays. San Francisco Mayor Dan Loomis has said that first responders are assessing the situation, and they're hoping to have an update coming later today. So we'll keep you posted as we learn more.
All right, today marks the official start of fall, but we still won't see the equal days of hours in the day and equal days of hours at night. Meteorologist Chris Michaels explains why in today's Ask the Meteorologist.
You might remember back in school when you learned about the equinox and how it was equal day and night. Well, almost, not quite there. Let's talk about it. So the autumnal equinox is beginning to fall at 2:19 this afternoon. That's when the sun's center passes right over the equator. So it's for us nearly equal amounts of daylight and darkness. But here's what happens. You've got a lot of refraction or bending of the sun's light in the atmosphere as it's rising and setting. So it causes it to look like the sun is above the horizon when it's actually below. So that's how daylight is measured, is when seeing the sun's disk above or below the horizon. So this far to the north, it's actually up a little bit longer than 12 hours. Today, it's about 12 hours and 8 minutes. So the day of exact equal day and night is Friday, this Friday. That's when the sun rises at 7:06 a.m., the sun sets at 7:06 p.m., and instead of the equinox, that is called the equilux. More details in this Ask the Meteorologist segment and more of those on WRAL.com.
Well, lots of people seem to enjoy this time of year, but why is that? Fall provides predictability. The kids are back in school and families have set dinner times and bedtimes once again. Most people thrive on structure and routine, but that's not all. Fall also brings cool, crisp air, which offers a nice change of pace from the summer.
Air makes it much easier to go outside, to take a hike, enjoy the outdoors, exercise. That may be tough to do during the hot summer months. This outdoor activity raises the oxygen level in our brains, which helps us to think clearer and feel calmer.
You may also sleep better during the fall. The days are shorter and the sun sets earlier, making it easier to get that optimal 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night.
And then there are those warm spices that we enjoy in
Yes.
the fall. Yeah. So today we're asking, which fall activity do you prefer? Here are your choices: carving pumpkins, exercising outdoors, or attending outdoor sporting events.
Share your voice right now by scanning the QR code on your screen or head to WRAL.com/yourvoice. We'll share the results before the end of this newscast.
My favorite time of fall?
Yes.
The food.
The food, yes. I cannot disagree with that. Apple pie, pumpkin spice, everything in between. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner here with a look at our not so fall forecast today, Elizabeth.
Yeah, today is feeling great. It's a couple of days from now that it's going to feel like summer again. Of course, as Chris said, except today at 2:19 is officially when we hit that equinox. But I loved his explanation about why it isn't equal today and it is on Friday. So that'll make sense when you're looking at the sunrise and sunset. We take a live look at Durham right now. It's looking beautiful out there. Lots of sunshine, just a few high thin clouds. It is 76 degrees with a dew point of 56. So definitely feeling like fall at the moment. Our temperatures do climb into the low 80s this afternoon, but our dew point stays low. So it'll still feel nice and refreshing as you get through the rest of the day. Tomorrow temperatures creep up, but it's just full on summer for us by the time we get to Wednesday and Thursday. Our temperature is 73 in Roxborough, 78 in Goldsboro, 78 in Southern Pines. We're feeling good out there. We zoom in across the triangle, 76 Holly Springs, 74 in Garner and Knightdale, 74 in Chapel Hill. So it's a beautiful lunch hour out there. We take a look at our temperature change. I'm going to widen this out a little bit. This is a look at what happens in the next couple of days. Those darker orange colors show temperatures above normal. Our highs will be above normal for Wednesday and Thursday, or at least close to it. And that lingers up until the weekend. Then we'll see this cooler air signified by the blue shaded areas. That's where temperatures are below normal. That'll that'll come sliding in, and it looks like a really nice weekend. 83 today in Raleigh and Durham, 85 in Fayetteville. We take a look at our warming temperatures. Our normal high is 81, so we're very close to that today. It's above that for tomorrow. It's going to feel a bit hotter, about 5 degrees warmer than today at 87. And then it's 91 Wednesday and 90 on Thursday with 83 on Friday. So Friday, when we have that potential for rain, it really will knock our temperatures down nicely. The earliest last 90-degree day of the year, it was July 21st. I can't even imagine that. But however, we only had one day in the 90s in August. We've had 2 or 3 so far this month, and then we'll potentially have 2 more this week. So we're getting there for September. The average last 90-degree day is September 12th, but the latest on record was October 10th at RDU back in 2017. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully, we'll see these temperatures cooling down for the weekend, and then we'll be finished with the 90-degree days for the year. We're going to talk a little bit more about the late week front. Thursday and Friday in particular have a good chance for rain. I'll show you how much we could see. Right now, it looks like a pretty good soaker.
Oh, yeah, well, we need it.
Yes, we sure do. Thank you, Elizabeth. Reinvigorating the market. Recent interest rate reductions are exciting home buyers at the lower mortgage rates here. What this means for buyers and sellers alike at 4.
Then at 5:30, feeling abandoned and ignored, a lifelong resident of a western North Carolina town shares what aid has and has not been available 1 year after Helene. But our new news continues now. Emergency evacuation. Some passengers are not following the rules, while the government says violators are putting lives at risk.
Plus, PFAS ban. California votes to eliminate substances linked to cancer. We'll explain the timeline to phase out forever chemicals from consumer products.
Luis Fernandez here in the WRAL Live Center, and we've just got all the sports news for you today. This is breaking news coming from USA Women's Basketball. Duke head coach Kara Lawson will be named the USA Women's Basketball National Team head coach. That means she will be coaching the women's basketball team in the Olympics in 2028. Lawson won a gold medal with Team USA back as a player. Now, I've had some sit-down conversations with her over the past year or so, actually before the last Olympics, and she speaks so highly of how much that experience with the national team has impacted her. So very big deal in U.S. women's basketball world right now, and big deal for Duke just down the road.
The government is taking Amazon to court, accusing the e-commerce giant of tricking customers into signing up for Prime membership, then making it hard to cancel. A federal judge ruled last week against Amazon, saying it violated consumer protection laws by taking billing information before disclosing membership terms. If the FTC prevails, Amazon could face substantial financial penalties and be required to overhaul its subscription practices.
The FAA is urging airlines to reevaluate their safety protocols for emergency evacuations. The agency noticed passengers taking carry-on items with them during recent evacuations. That can slow down the process, damage emergency slides, and put others' lives at risk. Officials say airlines should make sure passengers know not to bring carry-on items if they are asked to evacuate an aircraft in an emergency. Well, the price for imported autos and parts, new car prices have stayed relatively flat despite tariff costs, but the news is not that great at repair shops. The price of vehicle repairs rose 5% between July and August. That's the largest one-month increase on record. Overall, car repairs are up 15% from a year ago. Analysts say the Trump tariffs are driving up the cost for repairs.
Crime bill changes, the results of a preliminary vote that would get tougher on crime coming up.
Convenience at a cost, from non-stick appliances to plastic cookware, PFAS making life easier, but doctors say they can be toxic. The move one state is taking to stop the spread.
And here's a look at the winning lottery numbers. Good luck.
Now, breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
That breaking news is about within the last 30 minutes, state lawmakers gave initial approval to sweeping new criminal law changes. It's part of a wide-ranging crime bill introduced today in the legislature. WRAL's Destiny Patterson is live in downtown Raleigh outside the legislative office building with more on what she's been able to find out. Destiny.
Ken, just in the last 15 minutes or so, a committee moved this bill forward. Now it moves to another committee, and many aspects of this bill are directly in response to that deadly stabbing that happened on the Charlotte light rail last month. In fact, the name of the bill, they're calling it Irina's Law. It's named after Irina Zarutska. She was the victim in that stabbing. Now, let me take you through some of the things in the bill. The bill would put aside money to create 10 new prosecutor jobs in Charlotte. It would also eliminate cashless bail and require more oversight for magistrates by the Supreme Court chief. Now, it doesn't set aside any extra money for police or mental health services, and that's something that Democrats have called for. It does make it more likely that certain people could be involuntarily committed, and the family of the man charged in Zarutska's death has said that he suffers from schizophrenia.
We believe that House Bill 307 is a good first step in ensuring that those in our communities that are mentally ill are in mental hospitals and not in jails, and those that are dangerous criminals are in jails and not out on the street.
Unless mental health care system is fully funded, the involuntary commitment process is a road to nowhere. We do not have the services to provide these people.
Now, Governor Josh Stein has backed some of these ideas in the bill, including changes for magistrates and involuntary commitment. Another component of this bill, the death penalty. No one has been executed in North Carolina since 2006 due to legal challenges. And the bill doesn't necessarily make it easier to restart them, but it does make it harder for people on death row to appeal their sentence or conviction. Now, there is some room to make changes to this bill, including some amendments that could be heard this afternoon. Destiny Patterson, WRAL News, live in Raleigh.
I'm Luis Fernandez. New in this half hour in the WRAL Live Center, Blue Ridge Power is laying off more than 500 workers in North Carolina. You see this document here. We received this. It lists out some of the different job titles and the number of employees within that are being laid off. This is from the Fayetteville office specifically. About 350 of those being laid off will be in Fayetteville. The rest are in Asheville. In a filing with the state, the company cites changes in the regulatory structure of renewable energy that made it hard to find funding. These layoffs are permanent, and the company expects to close these offices in Fayetteville and Asheville by mid-November.
A mental health facility with a history of problems and patient care is back under the microscope. 7 juveniles escaped Holly Hill's South Campus on Sunday. Multiple agencies collaborated to locate the group using canines and surveillance drones. Authorities located them 3 hours later and returned them to the facility. We are waiting for the operators to explain how this happened. And this is at least the third escape from Holly Hill since 2024. WRAL has done a number of investigative pieces on the escapes, violations and standards of care that could have prevented previous escapes, and state investigations. You can find all of our coverage on our website, WRAL.com, and in the WRAL News app.
A local man died 5 months before his wedding. Now his grieving family is battling with a local wedding venue refusing to issue a refund. 5 News Side's Keely Arthur has a preview.
It started out so well. A Durham couple engaged in Italy set a wedding date of October 11th, 2025. But tragedy struck just about 5 months before the big day. On May 12th of this year, Chris collapsed, dying unexpectedly. By that point, Chris Perry, the man who died, and his fiancée had already given more than $18,000 to the venue. I checked the contract. That money was non-refundable, but considering the circumstances and the months before the wedding day, the family was hopeful for a refund, but the venue declined.
And they did say to us initially that if they could rent the venue for the same or more money, they might consider refunding some of the money, but the venue rental was non-refundable. So they're going to collect the venue rental twice for the one event or for that one night. How does that make any sense? Once again, profiting from the death of our son.
Tonight, the response from the venue and why one industry professional says the family should at least get some of that deposit back. Keely Arthur, 5 on your side.
All right, you want to make note of this. Tomorrow may be your last chance to apply for federal disaster loans if your business or property were damaged during Chantal. Homeowners, renters, and business owners in 8 counties can apply for federal financial assistance. You can do that through the Small Business Administration. Now, here's a look at what each group could borrow if you were approved. Again, tomorrow is the deadline to apply. For more information, just visit our website, WRAL.com.
Hurricane Helene was North Carolina's most damaging storm, and now WRAL marks 1 year since the disaster with a new documentary focusing on families and communities changed forever. Helene caused catastrophic flooding and mudslides, wiping out more than 185,000 homes and leaving 108 families without their loved ones.
We're all missing a different piece. You know, some of us it's parents, some of us it's husbands, cousins, brothers, sister-in-laws, aunts, uncles. Some of us lost 2 people. Some lost 1. Some lost them all.
This documentary investigates why it's taking so long for the area to receive federal funds and the toll that it is taking on some towns. Helene, What We Lost, What We Found airs Thursday on WRAL TV and streams on WRAL.com, the WRAL News app, and WRAL's YouTube page.
Well, today is your chance to experience the future of transit. The next stop on the BRT Open House Tour, the John Chavis Memorial Park. Step inside a BRT bus and preview the rider experience, get an update on safety and mobility improvements being built into and around the system, and discover public art plan for all 4 corridors. The event begins this afternoon at 4 o'clock at the historic Carousel House. Screen time addiction, bedtime screen habits in teens cutting into the rest that they need. The effects this could have on your child and what a recent study reveals.
Plus, signs of aging, endless stress, restless sleep, and unexplained weight gain are symptoms many women know all too well. But why all women, no matter their age, should pay attention to these signs. Our team is working to bring you exclusive stories for coverage you'll find only on WRAL. Visit WRAL.com and search only. Thursday is the deadline for people who want to take part in the Poppy class action lawsuit. The previous owner of the prebiotic drink recently settled a class action lawsuit that claimed the sparkling libation here was improperly marketed as, quote, gut healthy. Now, although court records show company officials didn't admit to any wrongdoing, they have agreed to refund nearly $9 million to customers. Nightly social media use could change teens' sleep patterns starting as young as 13. This could lead to shorter sleep and more sleep disturbances in the future. Researchers recommend more guidance for parents on bedtime screen use, as well as clear family guidelines on phones in the bedroom. Earlier this year, a study revealed that about 45% of teens say that they feel like they spend too much time on social media, and 44% of them say that they are trying to cut back.
California could become one of the first states in the country to ban or place restriction on PFAS or forever chemicals. Those are chemicals used to make products water resistant or non-stick, but the worry is the actual chemical does not break down easily. They've been associated with certain cancers like kidney and testicular cancer. A bill phasing out those chemicals is now headed to Governor Gavin Newsom's desk.
Go out of our way to stay healthy. So, you know, eat the right foods, to exercise, to not use environmentally dangerous things. And I never thought about the pans, to tell you the truth.
We are now finding it just about everywhere. We're finding it in water sources, we're finding it in food chains, and even in humans.
Well, Governor Newsom, you see right there, has until October 12th to take action. Now, if he signs the bill, California will begin phasing out PFAS in consumer products. By 2028, food packaging and plasticware would be banned. By 2030, cookware with PFAS, like some nonstick pans, would also be off store shelves.
Understanding premenopause, once a silent topic, now a hot topic. The signs, symptoms, and stages of the change of life.
Swimming for a cause. Athletes brave the chilly waters of the Chicago River for the first time in nearly a century. How the event served 2 purposes.
Welcome back. You're taking a live look at Lake Gaston this morning or this afternoon. You can see beautiful clear skies for your Monday. We thank you for watching WRAL News, available on YouTube TV and the WRAL app on your TV or streaming device. Hot flashes, mood swings, weight gain, and insomnia are all signs of hormonal changes and symptoms of menopause. They can also signal premenopause, and that's when the body is preparing for this next season of life. Emily Gibbs explains why it's important not to ignore these symptoms just because of your age.
Preparing dinner is easy for Alice Henry. Prepping for menopause, not so much.
I don't think anything anyone told me prepared me for how strongly the symptoms were or how much they impacted my ability to sleep, to function.
A new survey by the Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center shows 61% of women believe they won't hit menopause until they're over 40. In fact, some will start having symptoms as early as their 30s.
Perimenopause is when those periods have started to change, right? And that's persistent.
Dr. Lauren Baker says hot flashes, mood swings, even insomnia signal hormonal changes and can be harmful if untreated.
Problems in the workplace, adverse effects on one's quality of life.
1 in 3 women surveyed are concerned about the long-term health effects, and Baker says women should not ignore symptoms just because of age.
There are effective treatments, right? And there are ways to feel better and not only survive, but try to thrive.
It's so important to ask those questions because no one else is going to ask those for you. So I think that's really important.
And that was Emily Gibbs reporting. Dr. Baker says having a diet that's rich in calcium and vitamin D is really important for bone health. She adds that fiber and protein are also helpful for a weight management perspective.
The arrival of fall means millions of migrating birds will travel through our state. Now, to help them reach their arrival safely, the city of Raleigh is initiating Lights Out Wake. Now through November 30th, all non-essential lighting in city facilities will be turned off between 11 at night and 6 in the morning. That's because bright lights can attract and disorient nocturnally migrating birds, leading to potential collisions with buildings. And we don't want that for sure.
Absolutely. And that's something to know for all of our bird watchers out there for sure. Well, we are seeing clear skies all across the triangle. I think it's time now to get an update on the tropics, though, Elizabeth.
That's right. So we talked about Gabrielle a little bit earlier in the newscast, but we'll go into a little bit more detail. It's undergone rapid intensification this morning. The 5 o'clock advisory had winds at 90 miles per hour, and then the 11 o'clock advisory, actually, I take that back. They had an intermediate 9 o'clock advisory where the winds were 120. So that was a huge jump, and it may jump to Category 4 this afternoon. One piece of good news with this storm is it continues to turn north, moving away from the East Coast and moving away from Bermuda. Now, Bermuda will have some impacts, but it's not going to have the full force of a Category 4 storm moving over it. And I'll show you that coming up with the track. A couple of other 40 to 70% chances of development. Those look like they'll also most likely curve away from land. This one has a 30% chance. That one's the 70%. And then, of course, boy, you can't miss Gabrielle. We'll zoom in a little closer. Well-defined eye here. And here's Bermuda. So definitely some of the outer rain bands. So they're going to see some rain there. They'll see some gusty winds and likely some beach erosion. But if they were sitting right here, they would be, in much more trouble. Anything on the east side of the center is where the strongest winds are, and we tend to see the most storm surge and damage. And so Bermuda's in, a decent location especially because the storm is moving away. It's moving north at 10 miles per hour right now, still has winds at 120, about 180 miles off of Bermuda, which is right here. Notice how by later this afternoon, it goes to Category 4, but then back to 3. And then as it moves out into the cooler waters of the Atlantic, it will begin to dissipate. Here's a look at, again, the 40% chance here, most likely staying off of the Bahamas. And then this one is 70% chance. That one may have a better chance of affecting Bermuda, but we'll watch those if they develop, and we'll show you the forecast paths. This is a live look at Fenton and Cary. Looks beautiful there. Lots of sunshine, some high thin clouds. A lovely, lovely afternoon to be outside. It feels wonderful out there. What we'll see over the next couple of days, though, is a big warm up. Our winds will start to shift to southerly, southwesterly. It'll be hotter, more humid ahead of the front, which is pretty typical. This one looks like it'll bring us a good chance of rain, but I'll tell you what, I think this will be storm number 3 that looked like it was going to bring us a lot of rain, and then neither one of the first 2 did. So fingers crossed, we definitely need that rain. There's a small chance of a storm on Wednesday. That's 8 p.m. We'll jump ahead to Thursday at 5 o'clock, and you can see the rain moves over us fairly late in the day. And then the front finally moves in on Friday, and Friday will bring us our best chance for rain, possibly a thunderstorm. We'll watch out for that. 40% chance on Thursday, 60% chance on Friday. Our eastern counties up to 1 inch, and our western counties up to 2.5 inches. And boy, it would be nice to see some of that. On both Thursday and Friday, we have a low risk for flooding, but it looks like this moves on out, leaving us with a nice weekend.
Elizabeth, thanks. Now, even though summer is holding on, we're still starting fall today. So earlier we asked, which fall activity do you prefer?
And we have the results right here on your screen. You can see about 50% of people say that they prefer exercising outdoors. And then we have 50% who say they like to attend outdoor sports. I think I'm going to pick that one.
Yeah, nobody's talked about carving pumpkins.
I know.
I thought that'd be a cool
Isn't
family
that like
event.
a traditional thing that people, I guess not anymore. Maybe you just leave it to the kids,
Hitting
right?
on the pumpkins, I'm not sure why. But outdoor activities, that's my favorite too.
Yeah, why not just get outdoors, enjoy the crisp air that we hope to get soon.
With a nice slice of apple pie.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
I love it.
Well, a historic season. Las Vegas Aces center A'ja Wilson snags another huge honor. How the WNBA star is cementing her legacy with another first. As we wrap things up, here's a look at a few headlines we're following today. A 17-year-old is charged with misdemeanor death by motor vehicle after a crash in Apex that left one 16-year-old dead, another injured. This happened on US 64 at around 10:30 last night. Apex police say the 17-year-old driver did not have a valid license. The driver and the surviving passenger were taken to the hospital. This investigation is ongoing and more charges could come.
A debate is underway in downtown Raleigh over a new tough on crime bill. The proposed legislation is a response to a deadly stabbing in Charlotte last month that made national headlines. It's named after the victim, 23-year-old Irina Zarutska. Among other things, the bill would eliminate cashless bail in North Carolina and make it easier to commit people to mental hospitals.
A mental health facility with a history of problems and patient care is back under the microscope. 7 juveniles escaped Holly Hills South Campus yesterday. They were found by law enforcement using canines and surveillance drones 3 hours after they left the facility. We are waiting for the operators to explain how this happened.
Promoting community interaction, that's the mission of a new art installation in Glenwood South. Mandela Sky features more than 400 mandalas crocheted and assembled by local residents. The project was inspired by mandalas in the small town of Licata, Italy. The Raleigh creations are much smaller, but no less beautiful. The 25-foot triangular canopy will be on display over Smoky Hollow on North Harrington Street through the end of the year. You can also find them hanging in windows throughout downtown Raleigh.
A record-breaking accomplishment for Las Vegas Aces star A'ja Wilson. The Aces Center was named the 2025 WNBA Most Valuable Player for the 4th time. And Wilson received 51 of 72 first-place votes from a panel of sports writers and broadcasters. This year's win surpasses the 3 awards won by each of Cheryl Swoops, Lisa Leslie, and Lauren Jackson.
Well, she's one of the greats. Hundreds of swimmers plunging into the Chicago River over the weekend for the first time in nearly 100 years. The once contaminated river was a dumping ground for industrial pollution and sewage. The 1972 Clean Water Act helped initiate the reversal. More than 260 athletes competed in the Chicago River Swim in 1 or 2 mile courses. It raised approximately $150,000 for ALS research and $50,000 to support 2,000 youth swimmers.
Well, NBC News Daily is next on WRAL. Your next local news update coming in 30 minutes.
You can get breaking news updates anytime with the WRAL News app. Have a great day.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.